Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Welcome to another amazing episode of Boss Talks. And this is the show where Kristine and I share what we've learned in our experienced lives to make sure that you can learn from our mistakes and learn from the things that we've learned on our journey so that you can take the reins and really just get in the driver's seat of your own life so you can be the boss of your own life. Now, if this is your first time hearing us, well, you lucky things, you're in for a treat. And welcome. Now, there is a fee, isn't there, Kristine?
There is. It's massive.
It's massive. Look, when you find value in this, we just want you to share it. And, you know, if you're really, really energetic, we'd love you to leave a rating if you find it amazing. You know, if you didn't find it amazing, leave a shitty rating and just give us a review. And we'd love to be able to connect with you. So find us on all the platforms. You know where to find us. But listen, the reality is we need to get these messages out to people because, you know, the world is in a bit of a state, and it is really the way we heal the world is to share the information we learn and teach it, and humans teaching humans, and the free sharing of information is how we're going to heal the mess the world's in. So without further ado, today is a big one.
It's a good one.
You know, it's your new life is going to cost you your old life, you know? So like,
what?
Oh my God, it's crazy, right? You know, you can't, you can't put like something new into a container that's already full. You know, it's the law of displacement, I believe it is. You know, two things can't occupy the same space. So, you know, I got very scientific then, and I'm not the science guy. Spent all day.
Where'd you pull that one from?
I don't know. I don't want to tell you because it's not. We want to keep this PG. But guys, if you want to change your life, you know, something's got to change. And, you know, you can't stick with your old habits and your old way of being and expect for a new result. You know, the definition of insanity, keep doing the same things over and over again and expect a different result. So, like, I'm just going to turn over to you, Kristine, like, because, you know, we've both got pretty solid stories, and it would have been easy for us to, you know, maybe easy, it might have seemed easy to stay running the same old pattern and hoping something would change. You know, maybe we might win that lotto, and you know, instead of like learning something and creating a business that, you know, gives us options, you know. But what did you do? Like, what do you want to share?
Well, I guess for me, Joel, I don't want to be a sheeple. I don't want to be someone that just does the norm and just gets by, is in just survival mode all the time. Like, and you guys have heard my story so much on the podcast already, but it's all about reinventing yourself. You know, I was in such a crappy place in my life, and it was so dark and I could hardly see a way out. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. But just from changing my thought patterns, the people that I hung around with, and then doing the inner work, I started to evolve. And I started to see that flame ignite again that was within me. The hunger got more intense, and opportunities started to flow more freely, I guess, because I was vibrating at a different level. Now, does it happen overnight? No. Can you change your mind in a click of a finger? Yes, absolutely. It's called like the flip it technique, if that's what you want to call it. But it is so like I have had to let go a lot from my past, and I'm okay with that because I'm now kind of like, and I see this with so many people, it's like a beautiful flower blooming, you know, and we all have this inner greatness within all of us. We all have this potential, this opportunity to rise and shine, and very few of us grab hold of it and really, you know, see what's on the other side. So when Joel opened with that, and when we came up with today's topic, we're like, this is the perfect topic, because so many people that we're coming across out there are living the life of excuses. They are living a life of self-sabotage. They're living a life of fear and overwhelm and anxiety and depression. and they're not just allowing themselves to be. You know, they're not even being their true, authentic selves. They're, what do you call it, like polarizing themselves and making themselves fit into the mold of society, and, you know, being careful about what they say or what they do for fear of judgment, fear of rejection, is, you know, all that kind of thing. So sometimes you just have to let go of all that and go, you know what? The next chapter I write is going to be my chapter. You know, I'm going to rewrite the ending to this story. I'm going to be in charge of my destiny. And I think that's what we're aiming to, that message that we're trying to get out today on this podcast, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah. Did it, like, I'm curious, did it get like bad in 1 second? Like, did you just wake up one day and it was just bad? Or was it, you know, you said, you know, things don't change immediately always. Like, it can take time to get your new life, and it's, you know, but you've got to be able to give up the old one. But like, I think what people, they get used to it getting bad over time, you know, like you're not just like an elite athlete and then you wake up one day and you're obese. It happens over time. And I think the same thing happens mentally and in your life overall. So is that how you found it?
Absolutely. Like it kind of just compounded, you know, and and this is what I see out there as well. And this is what happened to me, you know, little things started happening, little, what I perceived to be negative things started to happen. And then it's like that feather brick Mack truck. And it just, if you don't take notice of it and start changing it, the annoying feather in the face then turns into a brick that just smacks you in the face. And then you still haven't got the lesson. You still haven't got the message to do something, to change. And then the Mack truck comes. And so it was the same. And it hasn't just happened once. It's happened a few times over my life. But now, because I've done the inner work, I can recognize the signs and stop the Mack truck or stop the brick. And you can gather your thoughts and you can look for the lessons, the opportunities. And, you know, Joel and I, we're some of the most positive people you'll come across. Like, we know how to see the positive in any situation, you know, and even with disasters and things that are out there, you know, when there's a massive big disaster, there's always positives to it. Like, you know, you've got the emergency people, it puts them in a job, and you know, the cleanup people, and then the connection and the love and the community gets together behind, like, after these disasters. And there's so much positivity that comes from what we perceive as negative experiences. So it's like disease, Joel. Disease doesn't just come on overnight. Like, yes, you go into the doctor and he gives you that scary diagnosis in an instant, but that disease has been coming on for years. And it's the same with people getting comfortable. But this is what I find, and I don't know if you're the same, Joel, but people love to be right. So when they're living in their pity party and their shitty little lives where they you know, kind of play below the line in the responsibility game, where they're blaming, shaming, justifying, they're feeling entitled, you know, the world's against me, when's it going to be my break? And, you know, people sit in that comfort zone and they don't have a great life. They don't have a great quality of life. They're living in a life of excuses, but they're right, because they tell themselves, I knew this was going to happen, or I knew I couldn't get out of this, or I knew that if I tried that, I'd fail. So people would prefer to be right than to bloody just have a crack at life, take some risk. Who cares if you fail, because there's a lesson in anything. But do you see that as well? Like, it's a trend out there, isn't it?
All the time, you know, and like, people like to have their own little communities of people that have excuses, you know, like, oh, I've got the worst case of this the doctor's ever seen in his life. That's why I can't have the life I want. And it's just that's just like an emergency for me. I'm like, you know, when they like speak to these people, I'm just like, see you later. Like, I just barely, like, so if I'm beckoning you from the other side of the room and I'm saying, come meet this person, it's not looking good.
We need like a signal, don't we?
Yeah, you know, so yeah, but that's what happens. And, you know, it's crazy, because you can let that stuff go. Yep. You can totally let go, you know. So something that you brought up before is, you know, people are living the life that they believe that, like, others, like, to fit the mold. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, when I went down to Engage Melbourne with Scott DeMorland, we're creating we had to create another speech, right? And I didn't want to just do the same old one. So I went searching, and I actually went to, and I found Bronnie Ware's book. Now, I don't know if the listeners are familiar with this woman, but she's someone that wrote Regrets of the Dying. So she's a palliative nurse who's spends final weeks with people when they're facing their mortality, when there's, and she like obviously share about their lives and, and a lot of their regrets came out. So that was so similar. And the number one regret that people have when they're facing their mortality is that they wish that they had the courage to live the life that they know is true to them and not the life that they felt others expected of them. And I was just like, freaking hell, like if you ever need a pep up, I'm doing this speech because we had to get in groups and everything like that, and people are like, they were hooked from that, but it just has such a resonates with me so much. Like I was working with some people today and they asked me, they said, how do you, and they actually asked about you as well, how do you stay so positive? How do you motivate yourself every day? Like you guys just show up on Facebook every day. You're just there all the time and you're showing up and you're doing stuff, and do you have some special technique? And I was just like, wow, like I never really thought about how I do it. Like I don't have some, routine that I block out on my calendar and like live it like a prison for me. That doesn't excite me. I'm results based, but I don't like what moves me away from sitting on my backside all the time and not doing things and not bettering myself and not educating myself is that fear of regret. That day when you're on your deathbed or before, when there's nothing else you can do. So like that motivates me. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I leverage that even harder on myself? Well, what if my actions train my kids to do the damn same and they're laying on their deathbed thinking, wow, I've got these regrets. I wished I'd started this business. I wished I'd done this. I wished I'd done that. Like what a curse of a word. I wish. And especially being like, it's different. Like for like my 17-year-old, I wished I could do this. Okay, go do it, man. But if you're on your deathbed and you're saying, I wish, holy crap, I want to walk out going, I've got nothing left in the tank. I've had the most amazing life. And I do ask myself now while I go on my jogs and all that, and or I'm speaking with Hunter or my family or just my own thoughts, like, if I did get hit by a bus today or something happened and it was my turn, would I be happy with what I got done? And, going and like I work every day. I work most days. It's not always easy. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh my God, and I guess that's what maybe people see us as like, oh, that's all right for them. But like, we still have those days where we don't feel like doing it, but what else is there? Like the regrets, it's just black and white for me. It's binary. Like it's either you have a go, like we're lucky we're doing the podcast in a place and we've got our kids running around outside. It's like, it's amazing. They're looking at swans or something.
Yeah.
But like how easy would it have been for us to make excuses today why we couldn't do this podcast or why we couldn't, like get things going,
I think too, and sorry to cut you off, but you and I both have grand dream goals, or we've got a purpose in life that pulls us. So like, and we've got very similar values and we want to be that example for our kids. And we're not comfortable with just going home and sitting there watching TV and drinking beers and eating bad food. And if that's your life and that's what you love to do and that lights you up and you're feeling fulfilled doing that, then absolutely do it. But that's not how we operate. We're here to make an impact. We're here to help people, or empower people, inspire people to be their best version of themselves. And if we're not doing that, then why would people want to work with us? So of course we're doing that. But getting back to the emotion, and yes, we have bad days, but we're very intuitive, Joel and I. Like we live intuitively, we eat intuitively, and we feel like that as well. So, going back about probably a month ago, my dad has dementia. A lot of the listeners would know that. And it came to that time. We all knew it was coming, but it was the first time he didn't recognize me. And whoa, it didn't hit me hard at the time. But when I got in the car to drive away, it like the tears came. It was like, oh my gosh, like Niagara Falls, and I just pulled over and I took a few photos of myself just in this emotional state because I wanted to hold on to it because I was feeling something for the first time. I was feeling sad, and I drove home to my partner, and it was a Sunday, and I just said to him, I just want a day to feel sad, you know, and he just held me, and I just cried and cried and cried. So we do have those days, but can I stay there in that pity party? Absolutely, I could if I wanted to, but is that serving my dad? Is that serving my followers? Is that serving my kids? You know, yes, we can be sad, but we're no use to people vibrating at that low level. Now, my dad doesn't want me rocking up to him on the next day that I see him all sad and crying. You know, that's not helping him. So it's about managing your state, and that's something that Joel and I have worked on over the years. This is, you know, and now it's easier for us to manage our state, and we can recognize, okay, we need to be sad here. Like, I'm so glad that I took that Sunday off, got off social media, didn't contact anyone. I was just there, present with my family. All my kids saw me being sad, my partner did, and everyone was okay with it. I was okay with it. Next day, right, it's a new day, time to get back. But what we see out there is the opposite. We see so many people in these sad situations, and like, my dad's getting to the end of his life. Now, I don't want him going out with sadness, depression hanging around him. I want him going out with love, respect, kindness, as much dignity as we can. And I want him going out with a celebration. I want him going out with all this positivity around him. And I feel like that's the gift we get to give the dying. We get to rock up and let them have this rite of passage into that next realm, whatever you want to call it. We get to show up as our best version for them, you know. And I think so many people out there do the opposite. I think everyone uses an excuse. Okay, great. Now I get the excuse to feel sad. I get to play at a lower level. I get to vibrate lower. And to me, that's more exhausting. You know, it takes so much energy to play there, but you're bringing down everybody's vibration when you do that. So if that's a pattern, and we're talking patterns of behavior today, like if that's a pattern that you find yourself in, it's time to start flipping it. It's time to go, oh, I'm catching myself. I'm lowering that vibration again. How am I supposed to show up? How can I show up differently? And start asking more empowering questions and start flipping this response. You know, find the triggers and go, not today. You know, because so many people, Joel, we see it all the time, especially in our coaching business, where people are just playing below the line. They're playing in that excuses mentality. They're, you know, depression, anxiety, all that. People are telling them that they're broken, they need fixing, and we're here to call bull BS on all that. You know, like, you're not broken, you don't need fixing, but you do need to do the inner work. And if you haven't heard it enough, can you please start taking care of yourself nutritionally? Because that plays a massive effect on your mindset and how you feel, and your depression, your anxiety, your sadness, all that kind of stuff. Like, we drill it into you guys all the time, and we're not trying to shoot on you, but from experience, we know how much good eating affects your everything, like decisions, your energy, your mindset, your relationships, you're practicing self-love, the relationship you have with your kids, your mood, you know, your temperament. Like, it affects everything, guys. You know, your motivation, your inspiration, your potential, like your greatness. Everything comes back to how you're feeling on a daily basis at that nutritional level. So, oh man, I've just gone on
a rant.
I'm so sorry. There was just so much I wanted to get out.
It's amazing. And, you know, like, honestly, calling the bullshit's what people need.
Yeah.
Because if you are, like, if you want to stay sad, like, if you were to stay sad continually in your situation, and, like, hats off to you for being able to control yourself. It's a huge thing, and be able to do all the stuff that you still do. It's amazing. And if you didn't, you're making it about you. Exactly. And it's not about you. You know, like, I don't, like, there's times that I've, you know, you can't control when you're feeling, you know, down all the time. You can effectively manage how you think and feel. You can't control how you think and feel. So you can manage how you think and feel, and you can affect it. So, like, there's been times where I've been feeling a little bit down and out, and I've got onto my coaching calls with my clients, and they wouldn't know the difference, because you just got to show up. You know, like, there's a possibility, like you're going to be on stage in front of like over 1,000 people in a few days' time. There's a chance that you could have some shit going on, and you might not be in an amazing state. And I can tell you I know already you're going to show up, because you won't make excuses. It's just that simple. Like, so if you are like making it about yourself, or you're saying, oh, well, I've got, I've got the worst case of this the doctor's ever seen. I'm not saying that, like lightning can strike, people can win the lotto. So maybe you are that one person in a million or a billion or whatever you are claiming. Although over the longer amount of people, the larger community, I'm pretty sure you make an excuse. I'm pretty certain, So, there was, in my younger days, I worked in a business. I built a business, and I would often say, I can't do this because of that. I can't have what I want now. I've got to wait till later. I can't have this. I can't have that. I can't possibly do that.
That verbiage now, don't we?
Yeah, and I tell you what, one day the Mack truck came, and I did leave, and I did make changes. And what I look back now and say, and this is why I'm so passionate about calling people's bullshit, is because I could have left at any time. There was nothing stopping me actually from going, except belief that I could make it better. I didn't believe in myself enough, even though I'm like, building a business, like building a $10 million company, all these sorts of things are like happening. And I was doing stuff that was perceived to be awesome, which it was, but I could have left at any time, but I didn't. And I didn't. So it just came back to self-belief. And so that's why I call people on their shit now. That's why I'm being hard on the listeners, and that's probably hitting some people. Like I actually had someone today when I was speaking to them say, oh, you just hit me right now. I was like, good. That's good. So, no excuses. Like, yeah. And if you want something better than you've got now, you got to do something different. Now, like, that doesn't mean shit on your life and your past and what you're doing right now, the situation you're in right now, the thoughts, the beliefs that you've had. Congratulate yourself and just go, wow, they've got me to where I'm at. That's pretty awesome, because if you're listening to this, you have got through 100% of your worst days. So that's really something, because if you're adding those excuses that some people have, that's really something special, right? But it's time to let that shit go and say, thank it. Thank you for getting me this far, and I don't need you anymore. It's time to move on. I'm a different person now, and how would love respond? The most amazing thing about an empty glass is that you can put something new in it. So for you to have new thoughts, you need to forget some old thoughts. So what thoughts can you forget that aren't serving you anymore? Like imagine think about when you were frightened of something as a kid, like maybe the boogeyman. I don't know, is it the boogeyman or the booger man, or, under the monster in the cupboard? Like, imagine if you hadn't forgotten that that's a fear anymore, and you didn't move on from that. You'd be living in heaps of fear. Like, so what boogeyman thoughts have you still got in your head that you haven't let go of? Like, what would it be like if you change those things and just decide to believe something else? Because you know what? The reason why we are successful, and we're going to be even more successful, and we're going to have our ups and downs, is because we're stupid enough to believe we can freaking do it. We're stupid enough to believe that we can build this multi-million-dollar passion project. We're crazy enough to think we can change the world. We don't believe what people are telling us. Seriously, if you went back to where you used to live as a kid, or growing up as a teenager, or me, I'm going to go on Facebook to find some haters, but people that used to know us, how easy would it be to find people to say that there's no way you could do that, Kristine, you're not that person, or Joel, you're not that guy, you're full of crap, or you're all that. Like, you can find them. Guess what? We have to go find them. Some of the listeners are actually still living with them. You've got to cut it out.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, just go back to my career advisor. So many of us have career advisors growing up, and I bet you a lot of us are doing something different to what they thought we would be doing.
It's my secret my secret power. Like, I still have a hit list that I made in year 2.
Yep.
Because I just dislike teachers so bad. This is not good for the kids if you want the kids to keep going to school. But yeah, I like literally was like determined to be way more wealthy than teachers because, like, you know, I didn't get on with them. So I just believed, I from a young age believed that I could do things that were impossible.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good thing that you bring up there, because we are stupid enough to believe that we can pull all this off and create, you know, what we're trying to create out there. But the thing that sets you and I apart from a lot of people out there, I think, is we're not afraid of the embarrassment if we don't pull it off. Because I think that's people's biggest fear, is the shame and embarrassment. What if I say I'm going to do this and then I fail? Well, you're not going to die, are you? So what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Like Joel and I want to create $1 million business in the next 12 months. Now, what's the worst thing that can happen if we don't do that? We'll probably create a $500,000 business. Is that still awesome? Absolutely. You know, so have a think about that. If you're going for something in life, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen if you go for it and it doesn't happen, or you fail? Like, I think I had this job once. It was in a fast food outlet. It's called Kingsley's Chicken. Hello to all our Canberra listeners who remember Kingsley's Chicken. I'm sure it's still there. I failed Kingsley's Chicken. I was there for 2 weeks and I just couldn't upsell. Like, I don't know what it was, but the boss was getting so frustrated at me. And it was the first time that I ever failed anything in my life. And I went home to my flatmates and I just bawled my eyes out. And they were like, what's going on? I'm like, I failed Kingsley's Chicken. And I felt so much shame and embarrassment that I couldn't nail this job, this fast food job. But you know what? That was the universe saying to me, Kristine, this is not in alignment with you. That's the lesson I got from it. And I needed to be able to practice my sales skills, my upselling skills. And since that job, I've gone on and now I'm quite good at sales and being able to, you know, upsell and close and things like that. But it took that fail, that what I perceived to be a failure, and get the lessons from it to be able to flip it around and go, you know what, that was a really awesome couple of weeks in my life that I'm still talking about today. And I'm glad that boss came down hard on me and I just tossed it and said, you know what, stuff your job. Like, I don't need this. And I think that's what a lot of people aren't doing. We're not backing ourselves. We're not taking those risks. We're playing it safe. We have no idea what our full potential is because we don't even get out of first gear most of the time. So what we're trying to let you guys know today is get rid of some of these thoughts that are holding you back. Get rid of some of the fear. Get rid of some of and the fear will never go away. I want to be really clear. Like, the fear, you've got to learn to dance with fear, okay? Because it never goes away. And I heard this lady speak once, and she did 100 days of facing fears, day after day after day. For 100 days, she faced a fear every single day because she thought it would help her to overcome fear. Now, what she found at the end, and she was jumping out of airplanes, she was jumping off buildings, she was diving with sharks, she was doing all, like, getting Brazilian waxes, like all these crazy things. But what she found at the end of the 100 days was that she still had fears. And that's what I want to give you that gift today, that no matter what you do in life, you are going to have fears. If you've got kids, your fears increase, you know, because you want to keep them safe and everything. But if you let fear hold you back in life, you're never going to realize your full potential. You're never going to have the best quality of life. And you are going to get to that deathbed and have regrets. And something Kiri Cashley says in his book, How Would Love Respond, is at the end of the day, the only thing that you have left in life is the love that you gave, the love that you received, and the experiences your soul got to have. And that's it. So what experiences are you giving your soul?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you don't want to not have fear, because if you're not frightened of, let's be extreme, jumping out of an airplane, you're not going to check your gear. And that's how accidents happen. Like, fear is just your body telling you and your mind telling you that you haven't done something before. That's it. Like, so once you know, there's always something that you haven't done until you do it, and then it's not frightening anymore. You know, so like public speaking, just you just get up there and do it. Like I used to be frightened of it. Now I'm just like, yeah, and it didn't take me that long. You're the same. Like you would have been frightened. So like, look, if you're feeling a negative emotion, just understand that it's a signpost that something needs to change. It's just a call to action. If you've got some form of pain in your body, it's just a call to action that something needs to change. So far out. Like if someone in your life is a pain in the ass, that someone probably needs to be elsewhere. Something needs to change, So like just look, eradicate negativity, eradicate things that don't serve you. Something that I'm really like focusing on now is what if you eliminated distractions? So there's a guy called Bobby Castro. He's a guy that I saw at the first 10X Growth Con. He knows exactly how much he's paid per second at any time. And his wealth has gone up exponentially over the last 3 years. Like it's gone huge. But if you're not bringing him value in 20 seconds, he gives you the talk to the hand, get away. And he just goes about his business. That makes him sound like a bit of a prick and a tyrant, but he's not. He's actually a really great guy. Like if you follow him on social media, you'll see that, he just knows what his goals are. He's just like, I'm not going to be distracted. And, he does meditation. He looks after his mind. He really looks after his body. And he looks after his wealth. And he's good to his wife. And he's good to his kids. And he's like, all those things. So he's got the same 24 hours as everyone else. He came from a really, really poor upbringing. And he's going towards the $1 billion.
Amazing.
So you can do it. You've got the same 24 hours as him. But what he says is the difference between the ones that make it and the ones that don't is the ones that do make it eliminate distractions. Warren Buffett, the major difference between successful and unsuccessful people, successful people say no to almost everything. So you want a different life, it's going to cost you your old one filled with distractions.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those distractions. Give us some examples.
Negative people, Facebook, like anything that you're consuming, like TV, like
alcohol,
like shitty book. Yeah, like you don't have time to get hangovers. Like seriously, I used to get on the drink every Friday, a couple of times a week. And I realized, hang on, this is steering me further away from my goals. If I ever want to make hundreds of millions of dollars or have multiple successful business, help millions of people, I can't do it while I'm hungover. Like I don't want to do it while I'm hungover. I want to be clear and so it's stuff like that. But listen, negative people doing shit that you think you should have to do, like the person that asks you to come help them move. Bad luck. It's not going to be me. Sorry,
Too busy.
like I'm not doing it because like mowing your lawn, doing your garden, unless you love that shit and it fills you up. Why would you, because anyone listening on this call can earn like tremendous amounts of money per hour if you want, and it costs me $50 to get the lawns done. If I'm working in that hour that it takes me to do that, I can make more money. It makes sense.
Can I mow your lawn? Because I love mowing lawns. It's one of my Sunday pleasures, actually.
I mowed lawns ever since I was like my 6-year-old son's age, and I'm over it. So yeah, you can.
Love it.
You can have a ride on mower.
I love it. I love the smell. I love the look of it when it's all,
Oh, me too. I like the look of it.
Oh my gosh, I love the sound of when you get it. I love not getting the first go. You have to do a couple of pulls. I love lawn mowing.
So what about you? What are distractions that you can eliminate?
Kids. I'm joking. I love my kids, but they are a big distraction sometimes. But you've got to get resourceful with your kids. Like I've never once used them as an excuse. As Joel said, I brought my daughter over here. We're doing the podcast. Our kids are out the front playing. We've said, don't interrupt for 45 minutes if we do the podcast. And they're okay with that. I use my mum, my mother-in-law to look after my kids. I use babysitters. I use friends. So get resourceful. So because a lot of people do use their kids as distractions, and the phone is another one. I'm in control of my time, not the other way around. Other people don't control my time. So emails, Facebook, messages, all that kind of thing. I'm not looking at my Facebook emails or anything when I first wake up in the morning. I know some people are going to bed looking at stuff and they're waking up looking at stuff. No, that's my time. That's my time for me to fill my cup and get me into state so that I can go and serve more people. So, yeah, there's so many distractions.
Do you know there was actually a time before there were smartphones and no one died because they couldn't get in contact with you immediately. They did this other thing, like, you remember kids, instead of getting onto social media, they actually rode their bike to someone else's house. It's crazy, and I've got a quick story. I don't get up and play with my phone in the morning because that's the time when you wake up. It's when you're really creative because you've just come out of that deep sleep and you can actually sort of, we won't get into the quantum, but you're there. It's creation. So if you fill your mind with even more meditation or, a bit of exercise, drink some water, break your fast with something like some water, some lemon water or something like that. Have that time for you. It's just so empowering. It just sets you up. It really bookends your day or starts your day off really well. Well, just as a test, I actually, I think it was yesterday, I actually went, I wonder what it's going to be like. I picked up my phone and I went through and I did a little bit of scrolling and I answered some messages and I put my phone down. I was like, holy crap, I am so tense. And I'd filled my morning up when I should be creating what I want in life. And I filled it full of inconsequential crap of other people. I took on their BS right when I should have been making sure it was like pure and clean and like all that. And I could feel the tension straight away. And I was like, wow. Because it was like night and day. I actually deliberately tested to see what it was going to be like and it was bad. So if you are doing that, it's just cut it out. Just straight out cut it out. We don't need any more than that. Just stop it.
Absolutely. So let's get back to your new life is going to cost you your old one. That was the topic of today. Hopefully you've got incredible value from this podcast today. I know that I have. I know that Joel has. Just start reinventing yourself. And if you know that you're here for a greater good, if you know that you were put on this planet to do something amazing with your life, then we're giving you permission today to go and suss that out, to take some risks, to back yourself, to really believe in yourself, to go, you know what, who cares if I fail? Who cares if I take this course, this job, this career path, take this risk and it doesn't work out? At least you gave it a crack. Because the last thing we want for our listeners is for you to get to your deathbed and have all those regrets that most people do, to go to your grave with innovations that could change a nation or, new ideas that could help you change the generations to follow you. We don't want you going to, to the next life with all that still in you. So make sure, guys, that you are absolutely up for, changing your thoughts, and it's a continual process. This never stops, okay? You never stop growing. You never stop evolving. You never stop learning, because if you do, you're going the other way, you're dying. Okay, so we don't want that for you guys. So that's it from us today.
Yeah. Look, honestly, to close it out, ready? No one is holding you back. No thing is holding you back. It's you. So stop your crap and just go live the life you're meant to be put here for. No one is holding you back. It's you. So just look in the mirror, take responsibility, and go live your damn life and do what you were put here to do. And if you don't know what that is yet, go find out. That could be your mission. How easy is that?
You got 7 days. Go.
Have a most outstanding day.
Bye.
Damn.